Hey everybody, welcome back to New Slang. I'm music journalist Thomas Mooney, and this is episode 212, where I am joined by singer-songwriter Caleb Lee Hutchinson. Caleb released Southern Galactic just this past Friday. It's been on repeat over here at the house, and for starters, just a great album title. I love the crossover and the merging of worlds with that Southern Gothic and Galactic space thing going on here. If you've heard Caleb before, you know, of course, that it's going to have that baritone country crooner voice that really harkens back to classic country. You're not going to find too many people who can out-sing Caleb. His voice is so velvety and strong and piercing, and at times really filled with that brooding undertone. But what I love so much about this new record that he has here is that he's taking those classic themes and that language that we often find in country music, and he's invited them to live in a different realm. And what happens is they blossom into something refreshing and new that still harkens back to those familiar ties while also exploring a new space. We talk about it a lot during this episode, but we are in a really exciting space and time when it comes to country and folk and Americana music. You see a guy like Sergio Simpson, for example. He makes this cosmic outlaw country album in meta-modern sounds in country music, which just really turns out to be a watershed moment for this era. And then he goes on to making an album that's filled with horns and is much more of a concept record. And then he goes and cuts two bluegrass albums, and then he cuts a western album with the ballad of Dude and Juanita. And I don't know, maybe it's kind of given confidence to all these other songwriters, and then maybe they can venture into just these new spaces that they wouldn't have otherwise. So in that sense, like the exploration, the pushing of the envelope, Southern Galactic feels right at home in discovering new things beyond the ether and out into the great beyond, if you will. An aspect of this album that I really like is that these are like honky-tonk songs for the moon, down at the old space bar, if you will. I mean, when we go out into space and start building these colonies out on the moon and on Mars, you have to remember that, yeah, sure, scientists and architects and engineers and doctors, they're all going to be going out there. But at some point, also a bunch of rednecks and country folks are going to be out there building the stuff. They'll be the ones that are pouring the concrete and welding and drilling and mining for whatever moon rocks that we're supposed to be getting out there. Precious metals. And this kind of music right here, it's probably going to be the soundtrack, if you will. You have all these anthem barnburners like the tone setting opener Silverado and Things to Burn. There's also these classic jukebox joints like Good at Being Bad and At Least I'm Drunk that will certainly be on repeat. But for my money's worth, I think Caleb really shines on the introspective Heartbreakers, I Miss You, Quarter Life Crisis, and in particular, the 1-2 punch that ends the album. That would be the songs Used To and She Didn't Drink With Me. Those really hit the mark. That's where the dark realities of space and life intersect. It's where Caleb, he does park that old Silverado on the corner of space and lonely. It's floating alone in the deep dark and lonely coldness without like a rocket pack, I guess, to get you back home. And I'm probably going to make some strange ties here, but I really do think there's something interesting about pickup trucks and heartbreak in space. I've never been to space personally, but I've most definitely felt dejected and lonely and alone behind the wheel of a pickup truck. And I've also felt like I was on fire and high on life, barreling down an open highway. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that's what the cosmic element is on this record. The space element is those open highway, high on life kind of thing. And then also the just being the most lonely person in the universe. And that's something that Caleb has absolutely captured both lyrically, emotionally, and of course sonically with Southern Galactic. Silverado and Natural Man, At Least I'm Drunk, they're all good, fun, and captivating moments. But the existential dread of Quarter Life Crisis, the woeful heartbreak of Used To and She Didn't Drink With Me, that's where it's at for me. That's the gravity of the album, if you will. I highly suggest that you guys go check it out after listening to this episode right here with Caleb, which, speaking of, let's just go ahead and get on into the interview. Here is Caleb Lee Hutchinson. Yeah, we'll just go from here now.
Dude, this is like it's weird to do something on Zoom that isn't therapy. I'm used to like the Microsoft meetings and stuff, but like Zoom is usually exclusively me crying and talking about my childhood. So this is nice.
We can we don't have to go that far, but
we can go as deep as you want to, brother.
Okay. Yeah, like I was saying a minute ago, like obviously Southern Galactic coming out in the end of the month, October 27th. When it was sent over and I was listening to it, it's like obviously great album title, great description of what's going on sonically and what's going on lyrically. What I guess, like, what was like the first moment that you thought you could bridge that sonic, that spacey sonic vibe with the old school country songwriting? Like, was there like a moment that like you kind of that kind of clicked for you where it was like, yeah, that maybe this is the direction for this next project?
Yeah, well, I owe most of it to Titanic Sinclair, who produced the record. I made a weird friendship with him kind of over the pandemic. He released his own record called Texas Dream, which was kind of his like country concept record. And I've just been a fan of his for a long time. I think like end of middle school, I found all his music, and not country at all, but I was a big fan of it, and just like all his creative stuff, his videos, from like his music videos, his YouTube videos, all the stuff he's produced and wrote. And when he made this country record, I DM'd him on Instagram and just like telling him how cool it was for me as a fan to hear him make songs with steel guitar and all this like country instrumentation. And he messaged me back a few months later, because he doesn't really get on social media very much, but we like kind of formed a friendship. And he was always kind of a hero of mine, somebody I looked up to and admired. And when it got to, I wrote most of these songs on the record before I kind of figured out that he was going to produce them. And we had started talking about potentially him doing it, and I assumed he wouldn't, because he's got coolish stuff going on. He's been a part of a lot of things way bigger than me, and hopefully he wouldn't mind me saying this, but he more or less just told me he's fortunate enough to be at a place in his career where he really doesn't say yes to things he doesn't actually want to do. And he really liked the songs I sent him, and liked me and wanted to be a part of it. So I sent him a lot of these songs, and I mean, I sent him a ton of songs, way more than we ended up cutting. And immediately he was very like hands-on and what he liked. And we had many long conversations about what records I love and things I'm into. And he kind of started, he listened to country as a kid, but then he got into like pop and alternative and all. I mean, he's all over the place. And I started exclusively in country, and then I started finding all the weird stuff later. So we kind of had the same path, but in reverse, which was kind of cool, because we ended up referencing a lot of the same stuff, and he introduced me to a lot of cool things I hadn't heard. But I think like I've always been particularly interested in people who take like an authentic country sound, but kind of push the barriers, out a little bit. I think there's a lot of pop country where people go, what if we took country and we added pop instrumentation?
Yeah.
But then, I'm into all this different stuff, and, I love like Sturgill Simpson, clearly, Billy Strings, Tyler Childers. Like there's so many of these guys that are just, their projects are so diverse sonically. And I've never thought of myself as a cool enough guy to do it, but I thought that Titanic was. So it was just kind of a dream for me to get to just go, here's what I like and here's what's cool, but I can't tell you why I think it's cool. And then for him to go, this is why you think it's cool. What if we did something like this? And then pretty much every time he hit the nail on the head. And I think the first song we wrote together is the track Natural Man on the record. And he just sent me the hook, like the chorus. And I was at my parents' house visiting for the weekend and just wrote the verses and sent it to him. And I was just like, man, you may not like this. Like, it may not be right. I just took a swing at it, and he goes, no, this is it. And then made a track, pretty much what you hear, and sent it to me. And I was just like, in the course of like 6 hours, just from him sending me the hook, me sending back lyrics, he built the whole track. And then going down to Texas, I stayed with him at his home, and we recorded at his home studio. And it was one of the coolest, most like gratifying experiences I've ever had, just to be with someone who was a bigger nerd about music than me, and by all means way smarter than me in terms of production. And so I owe like 80% of how this record sounds, in my opinion, to him. He's a genius and a really stellar human being.
Yeah, you mentioned how, like, country will what pop elements can we add to make it more
Yeah.
poppy? But if you think about it, like a lot of old country stuff, if you're talking about fiddle and pedal steel and just really sharp guitar,
Mm.
that can really lean into being spacey, especially the pedal steel. It can really much, it has so much potential to go in many directions, and it just depends on, if you start branching out, if you start pushing them that way. And
Yeah.
it's one of those deals where um I think like the spacey elements, like the atmospheric kind of stuff, the synth kind of stuff,
Mm.
we think of it as being really, really far from country. But um a couple years back, I was talking to a friend, and we were talking about how, whenever space exploration happens in a way where we're sending people to, mine rocks off of the moon or Mars, or that kind of stuff, they're going to be sending rednecks. They're going to be
A hundred
sending
percent.
like
A
dudes
hundred
like
percent.
that up there, and that means it's going to be like all like truck driver country and country music in general being
Yeah.
played up there. So to me, like
Yeah.
it's like a natural kind of fit.
Yeah. Well, I also think, as a lifelong fan of country music, and I'm very passionate about country as a whole. I'm very aware of what like most people's consensus about country music is, that have never really listened to it or have just heard stuff on the radio. And not that there's anything wrong with what's on the radio by any means, of course, but I think a lot of people just write it off as sort of just bland and just token stuff. And I get that. And I think I got excited. I think country music's at a really cool place. I think people are starting to recognize like how exciting and diverse it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so like it just excited me. The thing that excites me in general just about putting music right now is the opportunity to maybe contribute to that in some kind of way, and maybe push people who've never heard country and don't think they like country to maybe listen to it in a new way. And maybe people who listen to the same three country artists all the time, and don't really want to look outwards, just to give them kind of another option. I think it's that's something that excites me. And as a listener, this I'm very proud of a lot of the projects I've put out. And I think I've got some stuff out there I really love and stand behind, but I think this was one of the first times that, listening back to it, I was like, okay, if I didn't know anything about me, I would think this is cool. Like, just as a listener, I would be like, I would send this to my friends and be like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And that's exciting for me, because all the people that I love and idolize, I could say the same for them. But the first time I heard them, um, and even like the classic people, like I've always just been drawn to the kind of like genre pushers, and the Whalens and the Hank Juniors of the world, who just kind of did their own thing, and until it became the norm. And that whole concept has always been more interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously like Highwaymen. Like the last verse in that is about being a star man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, and I like I said, like I think there's just, it's interesting how even in the, like the cliche sometimes, like
Mhm.
some of these older country guys, they were mixing like the classic country standard with a little bit of space,
A
a
hundred
little bit
percent.
of like some synth stuff. And I know it's weird too, is like even like some of the, I know he's not country, but like everyone got into a little bit of synth in the 80s. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of Bob Dylan stuff that has like synth in it. And um I think like that's like in a strange way, like, you know, we haven't fully gone nearly as far as we probably could in country with exploring that in a good way.
Yeah.
You mentioned like country music being in a good spot though, uh, with the diversity, with um, just like people, I guess, probably not being afraid to release something um, that they are excited about. But you know, obviously, you don't want to like lose fans either. You don't want to like
Yeah.
you people. I think it's very easy to just do what you did. That's do what you did really well forever, you know,
Mm.
versus stepping out of, you know, and pushing your boundaries and stepping further out. But guys like Sturgill and Tyler Childers, they have made that kind of the standard in a lot of ways. Um,
Yeah.
with that being the climate, like, was it a lot easier to you know, to go in this direction, to go and see what your boundaries were, even if you were like, you know,
Yeah.
a little hesitant?
I think I'll get real with you, Thomas. I'll get real. Um, I think there's a lot of my music that I think has always kind of leaned in that direction. Like I feel like Slot Machine had a lot of cool instrumentation and was kind of leaning into that world a little bit more. Um, but I think just to be brutally honest, because you know it is true. Like I've got people on Facebook already that listen to Silverado, and they're just like, "Well, what is this?" The term "working out for me well" or whatever. I don't know if it applies. You know, just to be brutally honest, I'm not exactly out there doing all the stuff and getting all the numbers and doing all the things. I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate, and I have a great like following that loves me and supports me and is very patient with me. But I don't think I've been satisfied as of yet with like what I've put out and how people have received it. And I think the whole past year on a personal level was filled with like a lot of pain and a lot of ups and downs, and it was very like sobering and me coming to grips with a lot of things. So it just allowed me to be in a better place to have a sense about what it is I want to do. And um so ultimately I kind of just made this record with none of that in mind. You know, it sort of just went, if this is the last thing I ever make or whatever, like I just want for myself, if I die tomorrow, to go, oh, I left something really cool. And like whether everyone loves it or hates it, I'm proud of this. Not that I haven't been proud of stuff I've done thus far, but I really just wanted to push into what makes me happy and where am I at and what's honest. And I think the record kind of shows that there's a lot of fun, cool songs. And I don't know if I've ever made fun music because I don't think I've ever had fun up until recently. And there's a lot of like kind of sad, somber moments because all of that has been the truth for me in this past year. Um, so I think I've tried to completely not look at what people's expectations are or what my expectations were of me a year ago. Just go, where am I at? What do I want to make? What makes me excited to get out of bed in the morning? And that's been the whole thing. So for me, it's already been a win, whether people love or hate this record, just because it's been such a fulfilling thing to do for me personally. And it's the kind of thing if you would have showed me this record a year ago, not that it's some grand masterpiece, but if you would have showed it to me a year ago and said, you know, you're going to make this, I'd been like, there's no way, just because I think I had no belief in myself or confidence to push a little further. And I think life has a way of beating that out of you where you just go, I don't really give a shit anymore. I'm just gonna have a good time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that's a good thing to hear, but it is also one of those things where, you know, you're a young guy, you're a young artist by
Mm,
all means, like, you know, young, mid early 20s,
allegedly,
you know,
yeah.
like if we were all like, if you all go back to like when you were, you know, 23, 24, none of us had it figured out, you know?
Yeah.
And you've been in, I guess, like in the spotlight as an artist for, you know, a minute now. So like,
Yeah.
I think like I think we were talking a little bit about it before we actually hit record, but if you've been in the spotlight since you're 17, sometimes people just think that, why aren't you just doing that exact same thing
Yeah.
forever, and it's fine if some people want to do that, but obviously you have personal growth, as you were mentioning, you have growth as an artist, and by no stretch of the imagination should we be viewing artists as a finished product by a certain age. You're always
Yeah.
like in a work in progress, like
Yeah.
whatever, that's what you are at this precise moment. And you get what you can at that recorded at that time, and then I wouldn't expect you to make this record the next record. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those
100%.
things you kind of have to. I think like more people are hopefully kind of understanding that artists are artists, and they're not just like, it's not a fixed thing or
Yeah.
fixed, you're not a product.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be that way. Like artists are people and they change. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're changing and your tastes are changing and you're just trying to make the same thing over and over again, that's got to be miserable for the person making it, but B, like I'm sure a lot of people would be stoked, if someone made the same record over and over again. They're like, thank God, another one. But then other people are gonna be like, well, dude, we already heard this. Like, where's this going? But I think like you look back at the history of country music, and you can find a plethora of early clips of Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings with their hair slicked back in a nudie suit,
Yeah.
or Hank Williams Jr. dressed up as his daddy singing "Cold Cold Heart." But I think when people take the initiative to just do it their own way, obviously not everybody wins with that, but everyone I've ever looked up to did it. And I think that's what was just telling for me, and maybe why I was feeling a bit unfulfilled, is I didn't feel like I was taking the risks that the people I idolize did and do.
Yeah. You mentioned having fun,
Yeah.
like, and writing songs about fun stuff. Um,
100%.
like obviously that first song, Silverado, you mentioned Natural Man right after that. Those feel like they're just like, I'm got the windows down and I'm driving down, you know, I hate to do the cliche, but I'm driving down like that dirt road,
Yeah.
getting out like out of the city, and you try and you really, really captured a lot of energy in those songs. We're how was that, I guess, different in the writing process, writing something quote unquote fun versus something that's, like Quarter Life Crisis, which is, a lot more existential crisis
Yeah. Yeah.
worthy. Well, I guess like, you mentioned like writing, you're more known for more serious subjects, but like what's how is it different writing a more quote unquote fun song, more of a, they're like being, I guess, less pressure of having to be serious in those moments.
Yeah. I think, again, like not to sound like some kind of, this ain't a TED talk or anything, but I think I kind of figured out a lot of myself and sort of met myself this past year. And I don't think I've ever really been in a spot personally where I've had much fun, like ever, or enjoyed anything really. Um, so I kind of got to a point in my life where it sort of felt like for the first time ever, my head was above water a little bit. And it was also just, making this record with Titanic Sinclair. It's just so stupid. Like it doesn't make any sense. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this is happening. Like I watched this dude's videos when I was 14, and we were talking about all kinds of country and rock. And I know Silverado, Titanic Sinclair, his real name's Corey. I'm gonna call him Corey for the rest of this because it's a confusing thing. But Corey was playing the bass and just had this line, and I was like, man, that's like kind of funky, kind of sexy. It kind of reminds me of, like, "Miss You" by the Stones. We need some kind of like ooh, hoo, hoo, like something like that. So,
Hmm.
and he just yelled out the ooh. I was like, damn, dude, that's kind of cool. And just I was just having fun. I wasn't sitting there going, what will people think about this? And does this fit into the current landscape of Nashville? And what will my management think? I was just like, this is fun. Like this is cool. It's like, dare I say, a little sexy. And like, I'm feeling good enough at this point where I can like just kind of surrender to just being in that feeling and that state. And so being there for the first time allowed me to be in the headspace of like, I could make other people be in this headspace as they listen. And like, that's cool and that's fun. And so, yeah, we wrote that song in like maybe 3 hours, like from hey, I got this bass line to here's the rough, like here's the mix.
Yeah.
It's just fun. And I've always put so much pressure on myself making music, like about just how am I great? How am I the best ever? How do I justify to myself that I'm not an idiot for moving to Nashville and not getting like a safe job? You know,
Yeah.
I gotta have my moment where I drop this and everyone goes, he's a genius. Otherwise, how do I live with myself? And for the first time, I was just like, oh, I'm living with myself either way.
Yeah.
Like I'm very happy and I'm happy with what I'm doing. And so just like having the freedom to create without all these self-imposed barriers, just made those kinds of songs happen. And I think it does work well in like contrast with Quarter Life Crisis, because my brand personally for a long time has been existential dread. Ever since I was like 7, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
we're all gonna die, and I'm fat. Like, what's happening? And so, yeah, it was cool to kind of write. It sounds super cliche, and I would make fun of someone for saying this a year ago, but it was kind of like getting to write for a new person, because I really just felt like a new person, and that was exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you on the existential dread,
Yeah,
the crisis. I think that's like really one of the first things that drew me into you was like this, like, oh, this guy, like,
he's
you know,
emo.
he's yeah, he's like, it's emo, if you're doing
Yeah,
country music, but
he listens to Hawthorne Heights
yeah,
for
and it's like,
sure.
yeah, do we really have to do anything if we're all gonna die? Like that's how, like, there's a lot of that for me. But not to get too far into that, but
Yeah, we can talk nihilism, whatever you want to do.
yeah, I mean, it's but with like Silverado, I mean, in this weird strange way, I think like Silverado is like, or something fun is kind of very very similar to having like the existential dread, because it's like, well, if we're not going to do anything, we may as well have fun, we may as well do something.
Yeah,
It's all kind of connected to that same root of anxiety.
it's like a positive nihilism. Like
Yeah,
this either means nothing or it means whatever I want it to mean.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
so you can make
And
it mean something fun.
yeah, with it sounds like that's like, that was some of your favorite moments on the record, is like doing something literally in the studio, as far as like, oh, we wrote a song in 3 hours, and it was, that's what it was like, that's
Yeah.
the kind of the vibe. You mentioned, you coming down to Texas, um to record the record. How important was that to have like a quote unquote like a destination record, where you're kind of away from the same thing?
Yeah, man, I think it was so helpful just for me to kind of change where my mind was at, because I'd already done all the work to get in a better place, but getting to just leave everything I've been familiar with kind of allowed me even more to sort of dip into this like new embracing of the freedom and whatnot. And yeah, it was one of those things where like as soon as I was leaving after we made the record in like a week and a half, and I left and I was just like, did that just happen? I think that's why it's so exciting when you do like write a song in 3 hours or in a day or whatever, have it finished. It's just like I woke up this morning and this wasn't even an idea. And now
Yeah,
as I'm going to sleep, I can play this like rough mix of a song that we're gonna finish, next week or whatever. And I just think that is so cool. And because in the past I've just written songs and I've listened to them over and over again until I hate them, and then I change them, and then I'll just go back and forth on everything, and just to have people in the room, um and just kind of in my life that have supported me and made me feel like, hey, maybe you do make the right calls sometimes, like maybe you shouldn't freak out so much about every little detail. uh, that has been very helpful.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes like, did or does this have like does having the you said like a week and a half
Mm.
being there, not that that was like a deadline, but like does having a little bit of like a soft deadline in a way, did that kind of help make some of those decisions easier?
Not really, just because we didn't have like a set deadline. I
Okay.
had like 3 weeks to a month. I mean, however long I needed it. I think what really helped was just I trust Corey and his opinions so much. I think he's like one of the coolest people in the world. And when you have someone there that you respect so much going, this is great, and you see someone like kind of freaking out about something that's like yours, it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I trust his opinion over mine. So like, I'm not going to even mess with this. I hear it and I think it's great. And I see this dude that I've looked up to for 10 years freaking out and bobbing his head in the chair. I'm just like, we did something, you
Yeah.
know? So
I
that
need
was, that
that.
was
I need
helpful.
that hype man in my life,
Yeah. When you see one of your like heroes loving something you're making with them, it's just like that. Yeah, it's a crazy feeling.
Yeah. You mentioned like, sending him all these songs to kind of go through. Um, what was kind of the number that you sent over? I always like to hear this kind of like
Um,
where does how do you go from that log and you like just
yeah,
start trimming it down to a
I think
statue?
I think I initially sent him maybe 20 songs and then probably like 10 or 15 more over the course of the next couple months where we were sort of planning out everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I I I had my favorites and he had his and they were very aligned. We had no like, I think you should do this one or I don't like that one that you like. It was just like, oh yeah, that's it. That's it. That one maybe not. That one could be later. That one
Yeah.
maybe doesn't fit, but that one's it. And there was never, and it's not just because I'm like a fan of them. I was soberly minded and going like, yeah, you're right. Like that's what I was thinking when I sent it over, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Like I mentioned a minute ago, like, when we go into space, it's all gonna be like, rednecks and uh, country folks. It's gonna be a lot of country music out there. This is kind of like what I love so much about it is like you do go into these subjects that are very, very familiar. I mean, like
Mm,
the Southerns in the title. There's a lot of like just really just meat and potatoes kind of country music when it comes to heartbreak and even like the existential dread, the drinking and the getting stoned and all that. There's a lot of that in there in this record. Singing a song about your truck, I mean, like, come on.
yeah.
I mean, that how is that not country music right there? But it
Yeah.
is like with that all that elements of um there's a little bit of like that Drive feel, like the
Hmm.
movie Drive.
Yeah.
It's like if you added that in there. As I wrote down here, like Han Solo would like this movie or this record, because
For
he's just
sure.
driving the Millennium Falcon, listening to Silverado.
Yeah. He's got that. He's got it on the Bluetooth in there.
Yeah,
For
well,
sure.
he's
Yeah.
probably a cassette guy still. I mean, like,
We can make him a cassette. That's the funniest thing. One of the parts about making Silverado was there was a part of it that was just funny to me. I thought it was so funny that like this is the most bro country
yeah,
thing on the record. Like lyrically, if I showed you the lyrics, you'd know exactly how it sounds, and then it sounds nothing like you'd
yeah,
think it would based off the title and the lyrics. And there's a part of that that's almost kind of hilarious to me, is we took the most obvious thing and did it the weirdest way.
yeah. I mean, it is very much the sometimes it like doing that is like kind of the thing that you want to do. You want to take the thing that is classically or traditionally seen as being cliche and like you just go with it and make it your own, turn it into something else, that
Yeah, dude.
is very awesome about like doing that and and making people kind of do the whole, oh, okay, well, this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be based off of title and based off title and if I just saw the lyrics just written out,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the I think like I saw an interview with Alice Cooper, and he was like, all these guys are writing all these songs, just write about your girlfriend. And it's like, just tell me how hot she is or how crazy she is or whatever. And I'm as much as of a good old boy as the next dude. Like there's plenty of times I just want to like go sit on a boat, like go fishing or go drive down a dirt road and listen to songs about beer and hot chicks and trucks. Like I am the market. I have fallen susceptible to it. They're catering to me. And so just to kind of use that, but put my own little twist on it of like, oh, I would hang out and like drink a beer and listen to this, or like go sit on my boat and listen to it or whatever. Um, just have to be able to have my own little twist on it. It's fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's part of it, right? Is like, you're talking about the fun part aspect of it before they like, would I send this over to my buddies if I didn't know who this was? I mean, you're the one having to play the songs like
Yeah.
every night. So like I think there was a quote from Ray Wiley Hubbard about Up Against the Wall Redneck Mother. And
Mm,
he basically said, you got to be comfortable singing that song like every night, but also like remember what you're going to be singing at 70, and you better be like comfortable singing that.
yeah.
So I think there's definitely an aspect of him, or of just people. You got to enjoy what you're writing, what you're playing, or
Yeah.
like what's kind of
What's
the
the
point.
point? Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things I wrote down here as a description was like, there's a little bit of the Woody and Buzz Lightyear, but it's not Buzz Lightyear, it's Buzzed Lightyear for you.
Bust Light.
Yeah.
I love that, dude.
Yeah. Well, use that as a descriptor. You mentioned like, like finding new song, new bands, new sounds, new things that you were introduced to throughout this process that kind of helped you broaden the sonic palette, if you will.
Mm.
What's been kind of like some of your favorite things that you've gotten into throughout this process? Is there anything that's just kind of like your earworm?
Yeah, well, I
Right
know
here?
pretty early on, with some of that synth stuff, especially like I'm not super familiar with like all the different variations of synth and the history of it. Kind of a wooden box with six strings kind of guy.
Yeah,
And Corey put me onto some like Brian Eno, some of the like
yeah,
early like pioneers of that kind of like synth going into synth pop, synth rock, even like some Talking Heads and stuff.
yeah,
Um, Kavinsky. A lot of this stuff I'd never really heard. But clearly like I've been influenced by people who were influenced by that stuff. Um,
yeah,
so a lot of that kind of thing, but also like um, me and Corey have a lot of the same interests in like modern country and I guess alt country or Americana or whatever those words mean. Um, so like we listened to a lot of Kurt Vile when we were
yeah.
hanging out, uh, Sierra Farrell. I showed him so much Billy Strings and gave him the history lesson of every Sturgill record and um, yeah, talked a lot about Waylon Jennings. I know, like I was like, man, we're doing like a disco beat on country, and he's like, Waylon did this. And I was like,
Yeah,
it's true, like it's we had we both turned each other on to a lot of cool stuff. And even just unrelated to the record, he put me onto some wild stuff when we were just like hanging out and eating.
yeah. Like Kurt Vile, you mentioned him. Obviously, great artist. Um, I guess it was a few years ago. I was able to interview him and Terry Allen
Mm,
together because Terry's a Lubbock legend, and Kurt had like, I guess, come across some of his early records or his records and just kind of got obsessed.
yeah,
And I did that for Rolling Stone, a piece where they were like basically they were doing a conversation and I was there to make sure it was keeping on the tracks.
yeah.
And
Moderator.
yeah, and he like Kurt, interestingly enough, like his, even though from Philadelphia, his dad was like a huge country and like bluegrass guy, like
Mm,
major bluegrass like in the nerdy kind of way.
Yeah.
And again, that's another little point right there of like where bluegrass and like metal guys are just like one and the same because it's all about technique and
Yeah. It's just acoustic metal.
yeah.
It's just electric bluegrass, it's
Yeah.
all the same.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's funny. Like if you have like really great music taste, you're gonna like country music. You're good. That I just think that's deep down at its
Yeah.
core.
It's just American music, man. Like
Yeah.
and if you like honesty and vulnerability and also having a good time, which is everybody, you can find something in country that you like. If you haven't found anything in country you like, you haven't looked hard enough.
Yeah.
We just get a
No,
bad rap.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can understand why, but like every
Yeah.
genre easily can get a bad rap just if you,
I I think country and hip hop are so similar in that way. Where like
yeah,
people who don't listen to hip hop are like, it's all about just drugs and shooting people up and women dancing inappropriately. And then
yeah,
people who don't listen to country, like it's all just beer and trucks and having a crush on your cousin in America. And it's just like, yes, some of it is for
yeah,
sure, but that's not all of it. You wouldn't try one item at Golden Corral and be like, this place sucks. The
yeah.
mac and cheese was dry. It's like, baby, we got pizza. They're doing stir fry over there. What are we talking about?
There's a chocolate fountain.
They got a damn chocolate fountain. They got strawberries with sticks in them. Little
Yeah,
kids are sticking their fingers in there. Don't limit this place.
yeah. The two things on that. One, you're describing the cliche of rap music or hip hop. It's like that's just country music that you described too. And the
Yeah.
other way around, except for the liking your cousin part. Two, I saw somebody on TikTok the other day try to stay in a Golden Corral like all day,
Mm.
and they were successful. And they just kind of were like she had like gotten up to go use the restroom at one point, and they had cleared her table, but she had like left her laptop there, so it was still like her table. And like they're like, are you leaving anytime soon? And they're like, nah, I'm just kind of working here today. Like I paid to eat once, and she basically ate like lunch and dinner and like snacked all day. And
I know what I'm doing after
you know,
this.
more
I
power
was
to her.
I
Yeah.
was gonna go to the gym, but now I'm going to the corral.
Yeah. The old Golden Corral.
I
I
miss
remember
Ryan's. Did you guys
Ryan's.
you have Ryan's in Texas at all?
I don't think Ryan's. We had like something similar. It was a little bit lower than the Golden Corral. I don't know how you can do that, but it was called Western Sizzler.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, the
yeah,
Sizzler.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was another staple of the big buffet.
Yeah,
Uh,
we got the Shoney's too. The
the,
Shoney's
the
has the buffet
the
sometimes.
the buffet thing I thought was just going to be killed at COVID. Like no one was ever going to want to like have buffet style
You can't kill
meals
buffets, man.
ever again. But
No,
yeah,
dude. I think eating the
cockroaches.
buffets, that's why I'm healthy, is because I eat so many like buffets, is all the things I'm exposing myself to. My immune system is just a brick wall.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like you being down in Texas, I know that it's not like obviously your first time, but did you get any good barbecue, good Mexican food while here?
I
I
had
guess you
some
were in
good.
like in San Antonio, weren't you?
Yeah, I was like 45 minutes south of San Antonio in Pleasanton, Texas, the
Mhm.
birthplace of the cowboy. Yeah, I had some really good Mexican food. I also grew a fond appreciation for HEB. Ate a lot of food from HEB and was just shocked at how good it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like my go-to, as I would wake up, go to the gym. There was one kind of on the outskirts of his town that was just like a meathead factory. And then I'd go to HEB and just get like some sushi. Honestly, they just had like these little, just like bean burritos type things, just pre-cooked. I put a whooping on those.
Yeah.
I put a absolute whooping on those, dude. I miss HEB more than anything.
Yeah. The HEB, man, it's like we finally got one here in Lubbock. It's on
Yeah,
the other side of town, of course. So then you're kind of like, I got to plan my day around, you know, going out that way.
worth
Um,
it.
but it is, yeah, it is worth it. What I love so much is like there's so much local products. Like
Mm,
local to Texas stuff that they always have, and so you're getting a whole lot of local stuff as well. And
yeah.
yeah, great Mexican food, even if it's done on the quicker side. Did this one have like the barbecue in it?
Yep. It had the little
Okay.
barbecue restaurant. That was great too.
Yeah.
That was, it was something fulfilling for me, being from Dallas, Georgia. I've gotten kind of this fake Texan look my whole life. So it felt good to just finally just really immerse myself in the culture that everyone assumes I'm in anyway.
Yeah.
I tell them I'm from Dallas, Georgia, and they're like, "You mean Texas?" Like, I think I know
You don't know. Yeah.
the little D.
You were born in Dallas, Texas, and just instantly
Yeah.
flown to Georgia.
What part of
You
Texas is
don't
Dallas,
remember.
Georgia in? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Dallas, Georgia. That's the name of the hospital, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Stolen
Yeah.
valor for them Texans. Y'all don't like it.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, I think there's nothing more that, like, the thing I guess with Texans is like, if Texans, the one thing they like arguing more than with people not from Texas about like just how much better you are if you're born in Texas is
Mm,
arguing with other Texans about where the lines of like East Texas is and where West Texas is and
yeah.
what is considered the hill country and what's the coast, and like everyone just argues about that more than anything else.
It's a
And
cult.
it is
Yeah.
very much a um the funny thing is I'm always just like, well, the obvious answer is that there's no hard lines. It's like there's going to be like a buffer zone that's a like
Yeah.
25 miles of that is considered both. So, or 50 miles, I don't even know. But you know what I mean? Like no one wants it. No, we have to have hard lines of what
Yeah.
West Texas is and what's, you
Oh,
know.
for sure. If I was from Dallas, Texas, there'd be plenty of Texans saying I wasn't a Texan. So it worked out perfect.
Yeah. The that's one of the, like, I guess, like for the longest time the line of West Texas was it just starts somewhere between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's a lot of shit between Dallas and Fort Worth that doesn't look like West Texas. It just looks like Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I just came back on Friday, and oh, the driving in that way is it's very, very the anxiety gets built up.
Dude, yeah, Dallas is a weird one to drive through. I went
Yeah.
to a wedding of a friend, an old friend, and I landed in Dallas and drove like East Texas, and I'd never like driven through Dallas. So it
Hmm.
was it was a little like, how many lanes is this?
Yeah.
A lot of lanes.
Yeah. It's like, oh, how is there like 8 lanes through here, 4 lanes, 5 lanes? And then it'll be like, oh, we're working on the next 2 miles. So then we're going to shrink back down to 2 lane.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the fuck, man? How do you guys do this?
And then I
And
immediately am just driving through like pastures the
yeah,
next forever, woods. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, Texas is it's a weird one. It's
Yeah.
like its own country, essentially, right? There used to
We
be
love
an ad like that for Texas, but the tourism ad, if you will. Yeah, like what do you have going on coming up as far as like touring and stuff like that? What are you planning on doing for the rest of the year in support of Southern Galactic?
Yeah, so we're still kind of putting it all together. As of right now, I'm doing most everything on my own, aside from my incredible management team
Hmm.
and my bestie Emily, who's doing PR for me. But we got some cool shows coming up. I'm playing Eddie's Attic in Decatur, Georgia, on the 21st of October, which will probably be the last show I do before release day for this record. So I'm looking forward to that one, kind of getting to go back home. I mean, it's like an hour and some change from my home, but close enough. Uh, Not a ton of venues in Dallas, Georgia, as it turns out. But I got a few conversations being had. I've got a potential really weird one that could happen. But I don't want to say it and then it not happen. It'll hurt my own feelings.
Yeah.
Right now, like we're really just trying to find the right partner in terms of agency and everything. I've had a few experiences. We really just want to focus on finding the right like long-term partner.
Yeah.
But next year is definitely going to be all about touring and doing everything with this record, and probably already looking at the next one. If everything goes well, which God willing, and the creek don't rise, it will happen.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, like I'm a big vinyl guy, which I
Yeah.
love vinyl. Obviously you got to get this on vinyl. But the
Oh,
one
we
thing I
have
was
to.
wanting to say is you got to get it on cassette too. Like this is like a cassette country record,
Yeah,
in my
man.
opinion.
I've always wanted. I've been collecting vinyl since I was a little kid. My great uncle, who was more like a grandfather to me, he and his wife used to get a new record every Friday and just spend the weekend listening to it. So they had a plethora of really cool original records, and my dad had a bunch. So I have them all over my walls. I'm like, I just want mine on the wall.
Yeah.
I want it. And but it'll be interesting. This record is mixed very, very hot. So we're probably gonna have to adjust some things to get it on vinyl, or that
Yeah.
thing will be riding, like a gravel road. But yeah, that's a huge goal
Yeah.
of mine. And the biggest thing in my life right now, as of yesterday, was I found out the new music's gonna get on like the Touch Tunes jukebox.
Nice.
All I have ever wanted, more than a Grammy, more than $1 million, more than a CMA or CMT or whatever, is to walk into a Waffle House and put in like a $20 bill and play my own song 30 times and leave. That's all I've ever wanted. I'm going to be doing that at every Waffle House I pass for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So that's a huge one.
You mentioned the touch tune thing is so funny because um so like when Turnpike put out their record just a couple months back,
Mm,
the first single, I can't remember exactly when it was coming out. It was like May or something like that. And it was going to be they had really they were teasing it, but they hadn't announced like when it was going to be coming out.
mm,
But it was leaked on the Touch Tunes because like they I guess had sent it over and it was going to be on there, and it accidentally was just released on a Friday on there and not on like Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that. And people were playing it, and like I was talking with the RC, who's the bass player, about it, and it was like, yeah, people think like we were doing that on purpose, and like that was part of like our like our campaign, and no, that was just like, we were trying to figure out how to fucking stop it. Like, I don't
that
know
would
how
be
to
that
like,
would be kind of genius in the future, though. Is just to
yeah,
like reach out to Waffle House or whatever directly, Buffalo Wild Wings, whatever it is, and be like, we want to put this on yours exclusively
yeah,
for a month. I mean, all the Turnpike fans would be going wherever. I
yeah,
know I would. I would be remiss if I didn't mention I kind of had a similar scheme to what they accidentally did. Because I got Silverado was in the new game Country Star made by
yeah,
Space Ape. So that was really cool for me, as I had these people get to hear the song a week before it came out in the game and like play along, and that was what was kind of extra special for me to like calm down my worries was all these people who didn't know who I was, but like found the song in the game, really liked it, and internationally, and it was really great. So I'll be shouting out Country Star for the rest of my life because it was really cool and really helped in there. It's a great game. It actually is real fun.
yeah. I mean, that's the kind of fun stuff that's like, I guess we think that like I guess we come to a point every few years where it's like, this is the standard on how to release a record. You're going to do
Mm,
the waterfall releasing of the singles, right? Before it was like, we're going to get a premiere on every fucking website there ever was, like from Rolling
yeah.
Stone to Wide Open Country to, well, every, just literally every place is going to get a single. And like, that's just the way it was for a amount of years. And then like, we kind of decided, that's kind of like annoying and boring in a way, like just release the singles, like it's fine. And we
Yeah.
go to the waterfall thing. And now, it's like it's funny and interesting to see like the new things that people do that are like, I don't want to call it a gimmick, you know what I mean? But like that are borderline kind of funny in that way of like, if like you just like partnered with a dealership, and like every
Yeah.
freaking vehicle that was like driven off, like doing a test drive at
They had
Silverado, like just
every
blaring like
every
everything going
Silverado,
on.
every test drive of a Silverado, they just play my song.
Yeah,
It is shameful. It is downright upsetting that Chevrolet has not reached out to me yet. So I would like to use this platform at this moment to just appeal to General Motors.
yeah,
I wrote a song for you. This would sell 1 million more trucks. People would be burning their Camrys tomorrow
yeah,
to get in that new Silverado. If you just put me in a commercial.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the
I
highlight.
was gonna actually ask you about that too. Is like, just make sure you're being authentic.
Yeah.
You have a Silverado? It's not like you have like a
Yeah,
Toyota.
my first truck was my great uncle's, God rest his soul, and it was a 95 Chevy Silverado 1500 extended cab sitting on a 6-inch lift, 35s. I still have it. It's in my parents' driveway, and my hope is that this music does real well so I can revive her yet again.
Yeah, that first truck is always like you kind of.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible, by the way. Like I had it parked out, and I'd go home every month or so and crank it and drive it around, and it's not in a great place right now. So it got painful because I would have to spend like 2 days working on it just to drive it around and make sure it was still going. Uh, um, but the last time I was in there, like I guess just where the sun had been hitting the dashboard,
Mm,
it already had a crack in it, and
yeah.
I like put my hand there just like to pull myself up or something, and just the whole dashboard, and it's like that. It's that burgundy. It was burgundy and red for some reason. It's a red exterior with a burgundy interior.
Yeah,
It's kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie. It just doesn't make any plausible sense.
yeah.
Um, but yes, I'm saving up for a new dashboard.
The my first vehicle was like a 88, 89 Dodge Dakota.
Yeah,
It was diesel. And at the time, like my parents had told me like I was going to get the newer truck, which was like this like 97 Dodge Ram that was, since I was like 12, I was like, yeah, this is my truck. I'm going to drive this truck. They're going to get a new truck or whatever, and I'm going to get this truck. Well, of course that didn't work out. I get like the tester truck, for the first year or two. And I it's one of those deals where like I wish I had that truck. It was like a two-tone blue silver. It was the loudest thing in Fort Stockton, Texas. Like not trying to be cool loud, but like was just loud.
just is.
There was no sneaking in or out of the house with that truck. Um, yeah, and it's one of those things where you just kind of go. It just had like the bench seat,
Yeah,
Um, that was
I
kind of
think that's
itchy if you didn't wear pants, that kind of
I
feel.
think that's it's a good first move for like a first vehicle to be like real loud and kind of not fast.
Yeah.
You can't sneak out. It's kind of hard to speed unless you're going downhill.
Yeah. Oh man, that
Yeah,
thing was like just like you'd pump the gas or push the gas and you're just like, okay, we're going 5 more extra mile like per hour.
it
Not
builds
fast at
character.
all. Yeah. But I kind of wish like I still had that one because it's I would drive it right now if I had it.
What happened to it? You guys sell it or?
Oh, so like my dad and mom had like a company, and it was kind of like a company truck. And so then I took that over, and it was like I had that for a minute there, and it was just when I moved on to the next vehicle, it went back to being the errands truck, or
Yeah.
the go pick up parts truck, that kind of
So is it
thing.
still alive? It still exists?
No, no, they got rid of it. Like you got to remember, this is like 20 years ago.
Right.
That part too. That's just kind of I'm literally um coming to terms in the moment right now that was like 20 years ago because I'm 36 and that was wow. We're gonna have
If
a
if you need a
real hard
minute,
moment. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know where that truck is. It's probably like in a one of those part lots, the kind that you go and if you need a part, you go
yeah.
and bring your toolbox to take off a part.
We'll never lose hope. You can find another. They made more
Yeah.
than one. It won't
No,
be
this,
the
this is
exact
the only
same.
one that they had, you know.
Yeah, they never made another that year.
Yeah. The at one point there is only going to be one truck left of whatever year.
For sure.
But I know I'm just rambling on. I'm not even like a big vehicle truck guy.
Yeah.
And it just still holds a place in your heart.
You may find her again someday. Might just
Yeah.
find her.
Yeah. I feel like that's like a bonus track on the record that you're trying to, the sequel to the Silverado.
That'll be the lead single for the next record.
Yeah.
Like, you can still find her. She's out there in the junkyard.
The junkyard queen, something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Junkyard machine queen, something. Yeah. I don't know.
Right, now
We're
now
rambling on here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I'm in the room,
You get your percentage.
Yeah. One of those deals. Yeah, I feel like I'm rambling on here with nothing really to say. I think we covered it, a whole lot of it. As I said, like, I really dig this record. It's a lot of fun. Whenever it's serious, but there's still like a lot of fun on the record as far as the synths go, and like the sound, the sonic vibe is all there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a wonderful time talking today, even though we had a little bit of a rough start to it.
Brother, no worries, man. And it really does mean a lot to hear that you like it. I respect your opinion quite a bit. So to hear that you enjoyed the record means a whole lot, and I appreciate your time today. And it's been a real treat. I hope you find that 89 back.
All right, y'all, that is it for this episode. Be sure to check out Southern Galactic by Caleb Lee Hutchinson if you haven't just yet. And yeah, I'll see y'all next week for another episode.